You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687. 687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Everyone loves liberty. Our rights come from God, not the government. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your health care? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their health care. Freedom from guilt or doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your health care, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty Health Share and take back the control of your health care while helping those around you. Call Liberty at 855-58-LIBERTY. Again, that's 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or you can check them out at libertyhealthshare.org. Again, that's libertyhealthshare.org.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
At St. Jude, our family never sees a bill at all. It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures. Saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance as bio for your Black Wolf is nurturing your writing into mature. For a full list of services, visit blackwolf.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
All right, folks, welcome to the Jen and Rick Show. Yeah, for those of you that are listening on the Spreaker app, this is not, I'm really not trying to confuse you. Unfortunately, I didn't catch the fact that I had gone in to start setting things up in advance and someone else had started uploading a show. So when I went to publish it, it changed the feed on me, and I didn't catch it till it was too late. So yes, this is actually Jen and Rick, despite the fact that the Spreaker flows Focus, which will air tomorrow, by the way, so make sure you tune in for that. But so I'm one half of the crew, Mr. Rick Robinson. She's the other half, Miss Jen Homestead. And right now, I think we actually have her away from the TV and away from the Olympics. But I'm not 100% sure, because she was like going on about Sean something or other a minute ago.
I mean, you have me away as in it's not playing with the volume on, and I'm not watching it as obsessively, but it's in the background, and I won't be like scrolling Twitter for tweets and stuff like I might do other times. But yeah, Shaun White just won the gold. This is his fourth Olympics, and it's pretty impressive, pretty dang incredible. He's in his 30s, and everybody, he's been the icon of the snowboarding halfpipe. Everybody knows who he is, has heard of him, and whatever. And he, didn't do as well as he wanted to in Sochi. He's had a lot of some injuries and things that people told him not to come back, just retire. He gets all sorts of sponsorships, and he has a public speaking career, and he could really just hang it up. And he said no, that he felt like he was still at the top of the game, and people kind of said, yeah, but even if you kind of are, I mean, isn't it time to pass the board to the youngins? And he said, why? This is what I do. I'm a snowboarder and I love it, and if I can still compete at the top, why wouldn't I? And they kind of downplayed him a little bit in coming into this Olympics, and he just had some monstrous runs, and he won the gold. So, booyah.
Yeah.
Hashtag America.
Hashtag America. So, lots of stuff to talk about. Speaking of hashtag America, since we haven't really done a show since all this broke, so what's up with the media suddenly being in love with North Korea? I'm confused.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I can't even, it is so incredibly astounding to me. And not even just like the media as in like some of the stories they're putting out, but like individual journalists on Twitter and on Facebook and on all the social media mediums are just fighting people like crazy over some false equivalence. I mean, they're trying to say that, like, okay, well, first of all, I've seen a lot of we don't really know it's that bad. Well, right, because actually we do, from people that have, defected, but also we've had a few people go in there that have been able to speak a little bit to it. But it's like, yeah, because they don't allow for us to see anything. We have to believe everything that the government says, or we have to, listen to everything the government says. And that's all that we can go off of, other than some people that have been there and lived to tell the tale. And they're like, okay, so first of all, we don't know how bad it is. And, it could all be Western propaganda. Second of all, it's, well, the U.S. is much worse. This is how many people we have incarcerated. Okay, that's an entirely different topic that we can freely discuss about the incarceration rate in the United States and who should and should not be incarcerated. And I'm very willing to have that discussion. But if you want to pretend like the citizens of North Korea, whether they actually live in a prison or not, they are imprisoned by their country. They have no freedom. They have no rights. In many cases, they have no electricity. They don't get to spout off on Twitter, and they don't get any real perception of the world as it is, because everything is controlled by their government and dictated by it, right down to haircuts. There is a guideline on what haircuts are approved by the state. And if you don't have your hair cut accordingly to these guidelines, that can be something that can get you punished. It's just absurd to try to compare. And they use healthcare. They all have free healthcare. They all have this, they all have that. But they live in squalor and misery. And so many of them are sitting here saying, well, the U.S. is worse. And their main thing is, we don't know that it's bad there, that these people have it bad. And then secondly, it's that the incarceration rate, which is just really laughable. I'm just, every single person I see that's kind of defending this crap, it's just absolutely disgusting.
I mean, it makes no sense to me. I mean, honestly, looking at it on its face, like one of the things that I thought was absolutely just kind of weird was, the media praises everybody for, taking a knee or not standing during the national anthem because they're taking a stand against oppression. So Mike Pence doesn't stand for the North Korean national anthem or whatever it is that they're playing, because I know right now they're like under some singular flag, so I don't know which anthem they were playing. So Mike Pence stayed seated, right? So the media had a fit because Mike Pence stayed seated during that country's anthem. I don't think as a citizen for the United States I should have to stand for anyone else's anthem if I don't want to. For one. For two, I mean, just saying.
Well, yeah, it's so ridiculous. And then also, that there's the whole thing about how Kim Jong-un's sister, who was there as the representative for North Korea, how she gave him some, shady side eye, and like what a dang hero she was for it. Like, oh, look. I mean, they were all having these little like cutesy moments with how cool it was that the dictator's sister, whose title has to do with actual, like with propaganda, like it says propaganda in the title, and would have to know about the atrocities. There's no way she doesn't at the level that she's at. And they're just all fawning. I mean, they're slobbering over her. They're calling how she won, diplomacy gold. It's absolutely disgusting. And they are playing right into a completely murderous authoritarian dictator's hands while sitting here saying Trump is literally Hitler. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's all nuts. I mean, I don't understand where we are right now as a country, because there are two very drastic extremes in this country, and then there's a few of us that I feel like are kind of stuck in the middle watching everything else implode. So we have we all hate Trump so much that no matter what he says, what he does, or no matter how bad another country is, America's always going to be worse because Trump's our president and you're a racist if you say otherwise. And we have the other side, which is Trump is our messiah, and if you say anything against him, you shall be smoked. I'm in the middle going, look, he's president. I'll give him credit when he deserves it, and I will talk about him incessantly when he does not, because that's kind of what I do. But this whole he's either Satan or the savior, that doesn't work for me, because neither is true.
Well, but I still don't understand how this correlates. You can hate Trump with the fire, of 1,000 burning suns, and have absolutely nothing to do with your feelings on the dictator from North Korea and his absolutely horrific regime. This is not hard, people. They don't have to have anything to do with each other. And if you have decided that you are going to defend North Korea, you're going to defend this family of fascists, then, because of your disdain for Trump, then you need a freaking therapist, because that is insane.
Yeah, more than a little insane. I mean, it's, and the only reason I bring this up is because, for those of you who don't follow me on Twitter, you've missed me being impersonated by a verified account for the last about 24-ish hours, and basically being trolled incessantly for like 4 days, and being called a racist, all because I said, Trump's president, so I'm at least going to support the office, even if I don't always support the decisions that he makes. So because I said that, I'm automatically a racist, and anybody this person disagrees with is a racist, and I'm tired of the whole thing.
Yeah, I am too. It's just so out of control, and when this kind of thing happens, when these words are used so liberally, they lose meaning. And so what does it even freaking matter anymore?
Yeah, no, it's funny that you mentioned words being used liberally.
Everybody's racist.
And apparently really terrible people. So speaking of racist and words being used liberally, so Jeff Sessions is on the hot seat for talking about, how exactly did he put it?
Anglo-American heritage,
yes.
in context of law enforcement and the legal system. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, considering most of the language that we use that has helped establish our legal system actually comes from Anglo heritage, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, this isn't they've tried to make something controversial that absolutely isn't at all. In fact, I saw a thread where someone put together all of the links to, various things that have been written in decisions that were written by current Supreme Court justices, including quite a few of the liberal ones, using that term in those ways in regards to our jurisprudence or the overall legal system also. But that's still not good enough. The whole idea here is, okay, cool, Obama used it. Okay, Ginsburg, has written it 5 or 6 times in the last 3 years in either her decisions or her, her opinions or dissents. But you have to consider who's saying it, and we know what he was going for. It was totally a dog whistle because this administration is totally racist and they play to their white power people. So here's the deal. Now we're going to change what words mean or the intention behind the words or phrases because of who's saying it. And so I get to decide that. You get to decide that. Then we're not talking about definitions of words, and we're not listening to what these people are saying and in context at all. What we're doing is picking and choosing so that we can be mad at them about something, and so that the people that we dislike, our opposition, we can change what things mean based on our feelings of that person. And anybody who was taking that route that is in any way a professional in whether the media or in general in politics is either incredibly ignorant or willfully misleading and disingenuous so that people will, hate the people they hate even more.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing is just watching them fall all over themselves to create, I think it was I've heard, a non-controversy. Because that's what this is. I mean, that's like I had seen people quote tweeting it and talking about it, and then we even had a friend in one of the groups that we're in use a word that everybody else was upset about, and I'm like, they do realize this is an actual word, right? It has a defined definition. So it's not like she's not using it in context. But they were just completely having a fit. And it's just, we live in a day and age now where no matter what it is, if you want to be offended about something, you will find a way to be offended about something. And I'm over all of it to the point where I'm just done. We are not put on this planet to placate your feelings. That's not why we're here. If you don't like the way things are in this country, then please feel free to exit. But quit telling me how every single detail of everything needs to be just to suit your needs and your narrative, because I'm not here for that. I don't care that your feelings might get hurt because somebody uses a word that you don't like. They're words, for God's sake. I don't care if somebody attacks you because you look fat in a picture, because for God's sake, have you seen my pictures? I mean, come on. Let's get real with each other here. This is not about hurt fifis anymore. This is about, can we actually do things to put this country back together, or are we just going to finish tearing it apart? Because right now, I have to tell you, based on what I'm seeing and what I've seen over the last few days, I'm leaning more towards the fact that we're going to just continue to tear it apart. Because I've seen people on the right ticked off because Donald Trump keeps trying to throw, well, I was going to say red meat, but more tofu towards the left, about the things that they want. But the funny thing is, he gives in enough to get the right ticked off, and then the left still won't do anything with what he gives in on. So I mean, when you're getting 50% of what you want and half the country's mad and the other half is boycotting it, what the heck is the point in doing anything with the left? Because I mean, like right now, they are openly trying to figure out what they're going to do about DACA right now on the Senate floor. The Democrats are filibustering the open debate they said they wanted in regards to DACA. So what the hell's the point?
We talked recently about compromise and how that has lost its place in a lot of ways in politics from either side. It's more about demanding and having other people have to bow to their, will and demands. And this is just a completely perfect example, even though the Democrats are trying to claim that the Republicans never compromise with them, and it's just categorically false.
I mean, but as mad as I was when I started hearing all these things that Trump is supposedly trying to compromise with the left on, I gotta give him credit though, because at this point he's making them look like the stupid ones. We're all mad at him because he's giving the impression that he's giving a little bit on DACA, and basically what he did was he gave enough on DACA to be able to bring them to the table, just for them to say, yeah, it's still not good enough, so we're just going to sit here and now it's our turn to read Cat in the Hat on the Senate floor because you're not giving us enough. I mean, not that they're doing that I know of, but
well, it's never going to be enough, though. I mean, it won't be. They want what they want, how they want it. And that's the problem here is, like, if this could be a step forward for the people they supposedly advocate for and, sing their sob stories about and claim to just not be able to sleep at night over what's going to happen to them, then they would get their freaking acts together and at least figure out something that's going to help these people in the meantime until they can strive for more of what they want. That's politics, but, they're going to get their turn again eventually. So, but if they really, truly want to make a difference in a way that they, about people that they say that they really care about and for a cause that is near and dear to their hearts and platform, then they would do something. But instead they are being, I think, a little bit held hostage by the far left, which has infiltrated so much of Democratic Congress, and also there's just the people that are just liars, quite frankly. They don't really care. They care about winning, and that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is, I don't know if you've, probably not since you live in Texas, but we are in, well, actually, this is something that's never happened in Oklahoma's history before that I can find. We are currently in a special session while we are in our regular session, because we still haven't balanced the budget from fiscal year 2017. So now we still haven't even really started addressing fiscal year 2018 because we're still trying to deal with fiscal year 2017.
Yikes.
So anyway, so we're in the midst of this special session while we're in our regular session. So they put together this, and this was like backed by all kinds of business leaders and everything else. It was a program called the Step Up program. So they put this together, and basically what it did was it kind of spread around a bunch of different ways to raise revenue. Like it raised gross production tax on new wells, which are the ones from 0 to 36 months, from 2% to 4%. It made a gasoline tax. It raised it by like 6 cents. We haven't raised the gasoline tax in this state since the 80s. And that's actually predominantly how we fund our roads. Well, for those of you who don't know, gas mileage has gotten significantly better since the 80s, so we're not really getting much revenue from the gas tax. So we're thinking, well, with I-35 and I-40 being here, at least 30 to 40% of that would wind up being paid by outsiders. So, and even if we raise it by 6 cents, we would still be the lowest state in the country gas tax-wise. So we should probably tack a little bit onto there. And there was a handful of a few other things. And so they brought everybody to the table, and they had a vote. And, in Oklahoma, thanks to State Question 640, which passed by a vote of the people in 1990, they now have to have, out of 100 and actually I think it's about 101 House members that are usually on the floor at any given time, they have to have 75%. So not even like the supermajority in Congress. It's like 75%. So they have to get 76 votes to pass any type of tax increase. You can't even get 76 legislators in my state to agree that the sky is blue. But we have to have 76 people to pass tax reforms. So they have all this stuff that they've brought, right? And this is our last chance to fix it. They put everything up for a vote, and about 18 Republicans said, nope, not voting for it. 26 Democrats said, nope, not voting for it. Meanwhile, my state is still $900 million in the hole. We still haven't resolved our budget for last year. We still haven't done anything with this year. And based on the fact that they didn't pass this, we're now going into our 5th fiscal year of basically robbing money from rainy day funds and one-time revenues to be able to fill in at least parts of the hole. And at the same time, all of these people in my state are screaming, we don't want new taxes in Oklahoma. Dude, you haven't had a tax increase in Oklahoma as far as like actual raising of revenue taxes since 1990 because we can't get it done because you got to have 76 votes and we can't get there. And I'm just like, nobody wants to raise taxes. It's just like nobody wants to really do some of this stuff that we're talking about with DACA and, but we're getting some of the things that we want from it. So that's just, it's just the reason I bring it up is because right now this is the first time that this has been a clear example of national level nonpartisan BS just completely not wanting to work with anybody is going on at the same time at both the national level and the state level, because my state would rather bankrupt itself than come together and do something that nobody wants to do just to make sure that we can fund things. Because, well, there's got to be more places that we can cut. We've been cutting things since 1990. Teachers haven't had a pay raise in my state in 12 years. We've cut everything to the point where our healthcare system here in the state of Oklahoma is currently under investigation by the federal government because they took federal money to fill in state money holes because they couldn't cut the budget the way we needed to cut the budget to be able to survive. But yeah, let's keep doing things the way we're doing it. Let's become the laughingstock of the entire country while we have a bunch of legislators in Congress that want to make us the laughingstock of the entire world because we can't figure out what we want to do to fix anything because everybody's too busy arguing with each other instead of coming together and actually trying to fix things. Sorry, ranty.
No, and I mean, and anybody that does come to Congress and suggest that there be compromise or, has, or even before, winning an office says, hey, I'm a conservative and I believe in these things, but I will also work with Democrats on X, Y, and Z, or vice versa. A Democrat that says that about about Republicans, like, hey, I'm a Democrat and I believe, like, this is one that's come up several times recently. The DNC has pulled funding from various candidates for saying things like this. I'm pro-choice, but I will work with Republicans for a reasonable solution, such as limiting them to X, Y, and Z, that kind of thing. And they just get shunned. They get called, establishment, or that they're not true conservatives or true Democrats or this or that. And it's happened on all sides. And we saw an extremely good candidate who has been a pretty measured voice in Congress in Marco Rubio get absolutely raked over the coals because, he dared be involved in a bipartisan effort at, for policy. And I didn't like the legislation either. I did not care for what they were doing. But the fact of the matter is that, and he eventually did not agree with the way that it went. But the fact of the matter is that anybody who kind of engages in that kind of thing at all, look at McCain. I mean, they just get curb stomped by their side. And, that's not going to allow us to be able to initiate compromise in any sound policy anytime soon.
Yeah, and for those, because right now I hear lots of Republicans gnashing their teeth. I want to make sure that you guys are clear on something. We're not talking about the type of negotiations where we're giving away the farm. We're talking about the type of negotiations that are actually what are supposed to happen with government, which is that each side gives a little, because I seem to remember, and I don't remember who actually said it. One of these days I'll actually look it up so I can attribute them again. But somebody had mentioned once upon a time that when government truly works, no side is happy. Because what happens is each side gives enough to make sure that things get done the way they need them to get done, but they don't get 100% of what they want. These are the things that we need to get back to. And I know that in this day of partisan demagoguery, that is a really hard thing for people to hear, but it's time to put the knives away. We've got to find ways to fix the stuff that's broken. And look, I don't really want these DACA people to get a pathway to citizenship either, but if we're talking about 12 years down the road and it gives us the ability to get rid of things like chain migration and a few other things, then you know what? That's a can that's kicked 12 years down the road. Just because we've made that change now doesn't mean there's not some way to readdress it before the 12-year window is up if we realize that it's going to cause a problem. So why can we not put something together where at the end of the day, neither side is walking away with a smile on their face, but we've still managed to accomplish something? Why is that such a bad thing? I get attacked by people all the time for saying the same thing I'm saying right now. Yes, I am conservative. Yes, I want things to work the way I want them to work, and I want them that way all the time. But if all we ever do is stand in one, because this is the part where conservatives have screwed up for over 100 years. Democrats and liberals and progressives have done everything in increments. They've moved the ball an inch. They've moved it a foot. They've moved it a yard. They've moved it a mile. They've moved it 2 miles. But they didn't do it all at once. They've been moving things the direction they wanted them for over 100 years. We've got to start moving things back the other direction, and we have to do it incrementally or it's never going to get done, because it's no different than in my state house right now. You can't get 76 people to agree on anything anymore if they're in the same room. You can have somebody standing right in front of them wearing a certain pair of clothes, or certain clothes, certain color, hairstyle done a certain way, got a pair of glasses on, whatever the case may be. You have that person leave the room and ask all 75 people what they look like. Each one of them is going to get something about it wrong, if not more than one thing. Because that's just how we are. We don't see things the same way. We don't pay attention to things the same way. But we're falling apart.
Yeah. I mean, I think you said before, oh shoot, now I'm losing track. What was it? You said something about how, kicking the can down the road, and how, we've got that how they've been moving it pretty steadily. And some of that, I think, is because of their willingness to be extremely aggressive and almost abusive in power, whereas Republicans have historically been more on the side of, and I know there have been ones that have not been at all, but I mean, in general, there's been a lot more on the side of working towards some kind of policy progress, and we have acquiesced here and there, especially if a Democrat is in power. They don't acquiesce at all when a Republican is in power. They stand their ground, they fight, and they try to screw up everything that, throw a thorn in everything that they can. We do that or Republicans do that in a way that's largely through speech. They don't actually end up that way in votes and in, holding hard lines and pressing. So there's a little bit more of a brutalness that has achieved a lot for the left over the years, in addition to taking control of the education system, the media, and the overall national narrative. So that's what's really tipped that scale. But like I said, the right has been terrible to elected officials who have at all considered some compromise. And I think that, like you said about kicking the can, that there's some things to be done here and now that if, the Democrats actually come to the table, like they're not doing right now, with some things like Dreamers, that we could accomplish that are not totally unreasonable. I know that there's a huge faction that just wants them all kicked out no matter what. Send the military door to door right now. People that will not work. It will suck our resources even more than they're already being sucked. It will cause a militarized state, a panic like no other. There's just not really a great way to do it that would not endanger actual citizens and cause all sorts of chaos. And remember that once we give the federal government that kind of permission and power to do things like that, they don't ever really go away. So we would have a militarized America where there would be, because you'd have to set up stations. We would have to have not just various bases and stuff that already exist. We'd have to set up so many more in every major city, and they'd have to expand to rural and have outposts and all sorts of things that,
Papers, please.
You don't really think about.
Show me your papers, please. All right.
Yeah, no, it would be crazy. And so, to just give a little here and say, okay, those that came here young and were minors, they did not have a choice. Their parents brought here. We're going to come up with a reasonable solution about what to do about them. There's a deadline. There's procedure to follow, and they have to meet certain requirements. But that doesn't mean their parents. That doesn't mean there's, everybody else that is in their family. And that's where we draw the line. But let's start with this, and then we'll start talking about the rest. That's not a bad thing to do and could really greatly encourage future immigration talks that actually go more our way. So I just wish that we could get this at least a little bit settled.
Yeah, I don't know anymore. But we're going to take a quick break, pay some bills. When we come back, we're starting to wind down the show already because, as usual, we're taking the break a little late, but no harm there. When we come back, oh my God, but those paintings. We got to talk about the paintings. We'll be right back. This is Jen and Rick. Stay tuned.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what
Welcome back, folks. This is Jen and Rick. We are well past halfway through the show, so we're going to change to probably what will wind up being probably one of the last topics of the night. We have to talk about these presidential paintings that were put out of Barack Obama and the First Lady, Michelle Obama. So before we get to the picture of Barack Obama, because there's so many things that we're going to probably spend a few minutes on, I got to get your impression of the picture of Michelle Obama. Is it me, or does that look more like the She-Hulk than Michelle Obama? I'm just asking.
It just doesn't look like her much at all. And I'm not one of these people that's going to go around talking about whether I think Michelle Obama is attractive or just diminishing her looks. But I mean, she's not, in my opinion, she is not an ugly woman. But this is a different kind of looking woman. They have taken a liberty in a lot of places of her features to make it more aesthetically pleasing, I think. And I'm not completely opposed to that when it comes to portraits. To a certain extent, this is very odd. I mean, it just, if you would have shown me that painting, I would have guessed various other people before I thought it was Michelle Obama if I didn't know it's supposed to be Michelle Obama. And that's just weird to me.
Yeah, I mean, that one was weird in the way that it seemed like it was, them trying to turn her into something that she wasn't. I mean, because, joking aside, Michelle Obama's not a completely unattractive woman, but to make her look like that, I mean, that doesn't look anything like her. And it's just, so, I mean, to me, that was the first thing that struck me. And then, Well,
I thought they Beyonce'd her a bit. That was kind of the term that I thought of, was like she was Beyonce'd. They tried to kind of make her hair different. They made her brows, her brows look lifted and lighter. Her eyes were shaped a little bit differently. Her nose contour was a little bit slimmer. And just right down to, I know the artist says they do stuff in grayscale so that people focus on the inner beauty and not the skin color. But even down to the lighter skin, I mean, it was very Beyonce-esque, and I think that might have been what the artist was going for, admirable, or, a prominent Black woman that's admired in, social culture. So it's just kind of weird for a first lady.
Yeah. All those things are definitely true, and I was just kind of scratching my head about it. The one that really is just one of those things where you just kind of look at it and there's like so many different undertones there that just seem kind of weird to me. Like the first thing I noticed when I looked at the picture of Barack Obama is everybody else that does their presidential portrait, there's usually a black matte background, or in some of the more recent ones, they'll have themselves painted like they're standing in the Oval Office or something. This seemed odd to me, and this is probably my few semesters of psychology rearing their ugly heads again. But this seemed odd to me because a president who continued throughout his entire term to blame the former president, George W. Bush, for the mess that he found himself in, had himself painted sitting in front of a bush.
I mean, it's kind of the ultimate troll, honestly. But it looks so weird.
I was reading a story about the person who was commissioned to do the paintings, and apparently he likes to put little hidden messages in his paintings. Like if you look really closely at the picture of Barack Obama's face, you can see a sperm on the President of the United States face.
So I barely saw a little bit of that today. But I never got to look into it to see if that's legit or not, that this guy normally does that, and that he definitely did it on Obama's portrait. So he did do it on Obama's portrait for sure? From
what I've been able to find, because I actually zoomed into some of the other ones that I've seen that were clipped outside of the article, you can actually see it. Now, is my mind playing tricks on me now that I've seen it? Quite possibly, but the interesting joke about this is it's probably not the first time he's had sperm on his face. Just saying.
That is ridiculous.
But yeah, so I don't know if it was. I wish I would have read it and then maybe went to go find one of the other copies of the pictures before I.
Well, that's the thing. I saw it earlier, and I meant to research it, and I forgot all about it and never looked into it further.
Olympics, y'all. Just saying.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, okay. So here's another thing I wanted to say. Wait, here's another thing I wanted to say about the portraits. So a bunch of people are, rightfully so, freaking out because it's been dubbed the national portraits of of President Barack Obama and the First Lady Michelle Obama. Here's the deal about it, though. It's there's been a lot of comparisons made to previous presidential portraits and everything that are their official, quote unquote, official portraits. The National Gallery official portrait that hangs in the Smithsonian's National Portrait Gallery is different from the official portrait of the president that will live in that will live in the White House for as long as America goes, continues on the good fight. It's different than that portrait, which will be more typical of the presidential portraits that you think of. So even George W. Bush's presidential portrait that went for the National Portrait Gallery is a more relaxed. He's sitting on a couch with his hands kind of folded, leaning over on his knees, like very, very casual. He may even be in like blue jeans or like not pressed slacks kind of deal. And he's just got his like natural little good-natured smile on his face. And so it's totally not like stoic and presidential official at all. And Bill Clinton's is a very like modern art deal, though I will say Bill Clinton's is kind of a funny situation because his original National Portrait Gallery official portrait was him where the artist then later admitted that he had included some Lewinsky, some hidden Lewinsky references in that portrait.
Uh-oh.
What?
I said, uh-oh. I hadn't heard that. That's funny.
Yeah, as kind of a dig at, Bill Clinton. There's supposedly there's this shadow next to him. He's kind of like leaning next to like a mantle or something, and there's plants on the mantle and maybe like something else. And there's this shadow that's cast to his right, and that supposedly is like the shadow of the blue dress. And this is not just something that crazies have put out there. Like the artist himself said that he put these little hidden gems in there about the Lewinsky affair. So that was promptly pulled in 2009, and another artist's portrait of Bill Clinton that has a very it's kind of like a bubble wrap has a bubble wrapped look to it, of just his face from a cover of Time magazine without the time on it. I mean, the guy had done this portrait for Bill from that Time magazine cover. And so that's now what hangs there. So also a very different thing than the normal presidential portrait. And then there are a few that are really normal, like they very much fall in the same line as the other presidential portraits. But this is a gallery in which technically it's an official portrait, but it's only for the Smithsonian, and it's they're a little bit more liberal with what kind of portrait it is, and presidents tend to not be so strict in their portrayal. So I still think it's a weird, a little bit of an odd choice for Obama, but it's not exactly out of line with what has been done as far as the style of just being different than like I said, a more stoic presidential looking portrait. It's not out of line with that at all, what's been done at the National Portrait Gallery.
Yeah, so all of that aside, is it me or did the paintings just not really look that good quality-wise? I'm just wondering how much the American people paid for those things, because it looks like a giant paint by numbers. At least his does. Saying.
I mean, yeah, they're just I think because both of them are kind of supposed to be a little edgy and have some sort of like modern artistic styles, that it's kind of cartoonish. And maybe just seems a little bit less, I don't know, just seems less presidential, and that's okay, but they're just kind of weird to me. And you know that the one who did Barack's, that did Obama's portrait, now their history is really not so great. It's a lot of pictures of black women with knives holding severed white women's heads. I know that maybe you like some of their work, but if I'm the former president of the United States, I maybe am a little bit more cautious about using an artist that prides themselves actually on those paintings.
Yeah, so, I would say that if this was anybody other than Obama. So for the last couple of minutes, we should probably touch on the other story that's out the last few days. The mysterious email that Susan Rice sent herself 15 minutes after President Trump was sworn in, that outlined a meeting that she, Comey, and President Obama had in the Oval, I think it was in the Oval, on or around January the 5th, where Obama had instructed Comey to find a way to limit the Trump campaign's access to information about the possible Russian collusion. And I'm just now starting to really look into this, but that seems a little odd for a president who's basically less than 2 weeks from being out the door to be telling a sitting FBI director that, you probably shouldn't let these folks see this stuff. I don't know how well that sits with me. I was a little more concerned about it, honestly, when I first heard the story break. People were making it sound like the meeting actually happened 15 minutes after Trump was sworn in, which would have made Barack Obama a private citizen at that point, and that actually terrified me. But once I actually got to see the date lines everybody was throwing around, it does soften it for me a little bit, but it still seems more than a little strange to me. But I don't know. Still digging myself, so that's one of the reasons why we're just kind of talking about it now, because I'm hoping to have more information by next week. So
I had not actually heard all of that.
So yeah, I'll shoot you some links that I have later.
Yeah, because I'm really interested in looking into that.
Yeah, this just started really kind of coming to the forefront yesterday, and then they had talked about it on KOKC, and then I'd actually started reading it when I got home, and that was when I realized that the meeting actually took place a few weeks prior to her sending herself the email. But now Congress' curiosity is piqued because they're asking her why in the world she would have sent herself that email. And that's kind of how all of this came to the forefront, because they're like, this doesn't make any sense to us. Why would you have emailed this to yourself? Because it's one of those things, and it just kind of seems like one of those times when you're in a meeting that kind of went a little bit awkward, so you email yourself information later in case you need it. It just seems like one of those CYA moments, maybe. I don't know, but that's just me.
Yeah.
All right, so I know my co-host is itching to get back to the Olympics, and we've had her TV muted now for almost an hour. So before she starts threatening to murder people over missing whatever gold medals are being won now, why don't we start telling folks a little bit of information about how they can hang out with you when you're not on the air hanging out with me?
Mostly you can find me being snarky on Twitter, and during the Olympics, especially nationalistic, as someone told me yesterday that it was creepy how nationalistic I was being, but it's the mother you know what Olympics. So yeah, I'm gonna chant USA and use the American flag emoji and hashtag all the things, and I don't really care what you think. So if you're cool with that, find me on Twitter at jhomestead, JR Homestead on Facebook, and as always, check out misfitspolitics.com.
And of course, you can find me on Twitter at Radio Host Rick. Make sure it actually says that, because lately people have been stealing my Abby. So just because you see my face doesn't necessarily mean it's me. So make sure you're looking for the right at. But yeah, so as far as you being nationalistic, you know what? I'm not ashamed of having pride in my country. I know a lot of leftists are like, I don't understand why you could be proud about being an American because you just got lucky and you were born here. That's part of the reason why I'm proud to be an American, because it was a miracle that I was born here in the first place. So excuse me for being happy about the country that I was born in. You don't like it, you can kiss my you-know-what. But on that note, we are out. I'm going to wind this down so my co-host can go back and be more nationalistic and chant USA. We'll see you guys next week. I'll be back Thursday, because we're not doing live radio tomorrow night because Valentine's Day. Everybody's taking the night off. You know, it's Love Day. We'll be back. Take care.